Hi, I'm Jay, EscobarJ.com. This video is how relationships change over time. And if you haven't checked out the first, let's see, 5 videos that I've done on this topic, I encourage you to go watch the first 5. I'm going to put the links down into the description for you, so check those. If you have watched the first 5, then 4, actually, I lied. First 4 videos, and if you haven't watched the first 4, go check those out. Today we're talking about having better communication, and specifically as relationships mature in a healthy way, naturally you're going to communicate in a more effective way, assuming that you know your partner and assuming that you are growing in the same direction. There are marriages and there are relationships where people just stay in the relationships because of fear, or because they don't feel like they can get anything better, or maybe just because of the convenience of the relationship, but they don't actually put any effort towards the relationship. So they're in a state of complacency, or they just don't necessarily care to put much more effort into it. But they're not really fulfilled with their partner. And that's not the type of relationship I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the types of relationships that are mutual, that you're growing spiritually in the same direction, that you have the same path. One person in the relationship is following, the masculine is pursuing the purpose, drive, mission, success, breaking through barriers, goals, and the feminine party in the relationship is following, or being a cheerleader, or being a good partner, being somebody to support, etc. And there's different types of relationships, but typically that's going to be the main dynamic that I'm referring to here. But the things that I'm going to talk about with better communication in how relationships change over time, it applies to most relationships that are healthy. And when you have a healthy relationship, when you learn more about your partner, you're naturally going to develop a deeper rapport, a better communication with that person, because you know them better. And there can be times where both partners get complacent and they'll either sweep things under the rug, or they'll just avoid the conflict or avoid confrontation just because they don't want to deal with the confrontation, or just to not deal with feelings. I know, especially for men, a lot of times they get caught up in, and I know this has happened to me, in the past, where I'm just so caught up in what I'm doing, in my hobbies, in friends or work, that, I'm just so focused. We tend to focus on one thing at a time, and we want to focus on that thing and accomplish that thing, and just do that thing until we accomplish that one thing. And for women, or the feminine, it's typically you're talking about bonding and opening up, and opening up to receive love, and receiving and communicating in a way that you feel heard and understood. And especially for men, it can be very easy to just not want to deal with those feelings, not want to deal with that type of energy sometimes. Maybe you're just bogged down, maybe you're under stress, right? And it's just, you just don't want to listen to your partner. And there's things you can do for that, but for the purposes of this video, typically in a relationship and how it changes over time, it's much more healthy, and it's much more important, obviously, to let the small things go. And when you're in a place where you can let the small things go, it makes things easier to communicate the big things later. But by letting the little things, or by letting things sit and brew, it just creates more negative tension and resentment, until one day either one or both parties or partners are going to explode at each other. And like I said, it is important for you to develop yourself in a way to where you are easygoing. You let the little things go. Things aren't like little tiny things that may have been a bother to you in the past, or maybe may bother other people, don't bother you. It's important to develop yourself to, like, hey, that's really not a big deal, even though I don't really like it, or it kind of bothers me, or it kind of just like eats at my skin a little bit. I'm just going to let that one go and not hold on to it. You got to completely let it go. And so you're not burying feelings of resentment, and you're not building up and bubbling over to some point, if X keeps happening and Y keeps happening and Z keeps happening, that's when you boil over and you explode, and that's when big old arguments happen. And effective communication involves getting vulnerable and really, taking responsibility for the confrontation if there is a little bit of confrontation or something you're not happy with. And most people, the key, again, is listening is absolutely vital in effective communication. And most people listen with the intent to respond. They don't actually listen with the intent to understand. And so it's very important to communicate effectively and get it out on the table, not just for your sake, but also to give your partner the opportunity to correct whatever it is that's bothering you or bothering them. And by listening with the intent to understand, what that's going to do for you is allow you to really get to the root issue, the root cause of what it is that your partner is upset about or you're upset about. And less people, like I said, they don't have the intent to listen to understand where the other party is coming from. And that's really the huge difference that really makes the difference when communicating with your partner. And again, after all, like I've said in a lot of my other videos, you go into a relationship to give. It's not about what you get. It's not about what you take. It's not about you in the relationship. It's about what you give to your partner. That's the whole purpose of a relationship, is creating value for somebody else. And so you can give to your partner just simply by listening and understanding their perspective, and, not for them to hear just yours. That's key. You have to do that. And the key to this is if both partners, if both parties adopt that philosophy and have that mindset of, hey, I'm here to listen to my partner. I'm here to support my partner. And if I need to listen to my partner all night long, if I have to, I'm willing to do that because I love my partner and I want to solve this and communicate effectively like an adult. And so that when both people have that philosophy, that's when communication becomes effortless. That's when things can get solved relatively quickly. Yeah, there will be times where things, can boil over and stew. It's natural that's natural cycle of a relationship. You get complacent, it happens to everybody. And there are times when things build up and you have kind of boil over, but it's still important to not argue and to instead effectively listen and communicate. And sometimes it's hard to do that when things have been boiling over for a certain amount of time. And one way, a few great tips that I have for you, a few great ways that I've found that really, really help open somebody else up and really for you to be able to adopt the mindset of listen to understand first before you are heard or understood yourself, is asking things like, what else? Tell me more. How did that make you feel? And the one surprising thing, because what I've found is that when you ask those types of questions, if you ask them, like if you say, oh, well, what else? And then your partner starts opening up a little bit more. And then you say, well, tell me more. And then your partner starts opening up a little bit more. And then you say, oh, so how did that make you feel? Right? It tends to be one-sided, and it tends to be like you're more like a therapist where like you're like a shrink, right? You're just like asking questions and like, so that's not necessarily effective communication. That's just, and you want to avoid that. And I found that in my past relationships, by me doing that, a few of my partners even said like, hey, like, I don't want you, like, you're not my therapist. Like, you're like, don't like make this a two-sided conversation more or less. And so what I found that works really well is selective, attentive silence. And that's a bunch of $3 words, I guess, or $10 words. And I guess that's another great way to allow someone to open up to you. But what I mean by that is you can ask questions, but then you want to fill the middle of these questions with silence. So, and you can also repeat back to what your partner was said, and you can also mirror what your partner said. And if you use these things in a combination of ways, it really allows for your partner to open up and really get what it is that they're struggling with out. And so if you say like, hey, babe, what else? Tell me more. Or just say like, what else? What else happened today? Or what else happened with this situation? Oh, really? Uh-huh. Okay. And then honestly, just sitting there, looking at your partner in the eyes and saying, and just, you don't even have to say anything. Just when they finish a sentence, Or a lot of times what I found is that your partner will end a sentence and it sounds like an opportunity for you to come into the conversation and say something. But if you just sit there, and you're just quiet, it allows your partner to continue their train of thought. People naturally want to fill silence. And so especially if you're having a somewhat heated conversation or you're communicating in a way that's very, very deep rapport, you need to be able to give the person the space and time to listen to their own thoughts. If you're just constantly just asking questions and talking, you can get clouded, your mind can get clouded and you can't really hear yourself. So by just shutting up and just giving the person some silence and space to think about what they want to say next, it really allows them to open up even more. And that's why I've found that really works well when you combine that with, what else? Tell me more. How does that make you feel? And you don't just want to ask those consecutively. I mean, you can also add in well, how did that make you feel? Oh, well, it really bothered me when this happened. And, it really got under my skin. And because, this other time that this happened and that really made me feel like that time that you did this. And just sit there and then let them continue their train of thought. Another thing that I've found that works really well is at that last moment there, just by just saying interesting or or It's just like a little, you don't have to say anything. It's just like hey, I acknowledge that I've heard what you've said. And then something else you can do is mirroring. You can mirror the last 3 words, or you can pick 1 to 3 words of something they said. So, if it's like, oh yeah, it really hurt my feelings when you left this morning without giving me a kiss goodbye. It hurt your feelings that when I left. You could even say as something as simple as, when I left this morning, yeah, it made me feel really bad that you, I took care of the kids and I woke up and made you breakfast and I got all your stuff ready and you didn't even give me a kiss goodbye, and that really hurt my feelings. Oh, well, you could either, just be silent right there, or you just ask another question right there. Well, why did that make you feel that way? Or what causes you to feel that way? And then it'll allow them to open up even more. And so if you mix these things together, you'll find that you will have a lot better communication, especially if you put your partner's needs first, if you're communicating in an effective way, and you're really trying to focus on listening to understand versus listening to respond. And that's really the key difference here. So that is how relationships mature over time. I hope you enjoyed this series of videos. If you did, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the little bell icon so you never miss anytime I release a video. You can also visit my website at escobarj.com. If you'd like to get my help with this topic, if you struggle with communication or your partner struggles with communication, you can book a coaching session on my website at escobarj.com. Other than that, I hope that you are always learning, always growing, and always pushing forward. And if you can do me one last favor by sharing this with any of your friends and family, I would be much appreciated. That is my purpose, is to help as many people as I possibly can, to provide value, to help others grow and learn and become the best versions of themselves. So, I hope you're doing well. Be great. Be a great communicator, prosper, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.